All rise. Here's Judge Napolitano.
Oh, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Well, because it was Saturday night, they didn't really have time to respond to the Saturday blockbuster from the New York Times that back in on his 1995 return, Donald Trump declared $916 million worth of business losses, which he could then carry forward and offset any income, which allowed the New York Times and others to speculate, well, maybe he didn't pay taxes for 15 years. You've looked at all the stuff on display. Did Donald Trump do anything wrong?
No. No. In the United States of America, we tell the government what we owe it. The government doesn't tell us. And Congress has given guidelines, very lengthy, very complex guidelines. The tax code, I'm holding my hand about 4 feet off the floor. The tax code is that many pages. That's how complex it is. And if a person goes through the tax code and finds ways to minimize their obligation, they are following the laws that Congress has made available. It's a famous Supreme Court opinion. Oliver Wendell Holmes, who probably wouldn't agree with Donald Trump on anything, said nobody should pay a nickel more than they actually owe. Now, having said that, the issue is, where did the Times get this? And is there a problem with them publishing it? I almost said punishing it, publishing it. We don't know how they got it. They claim they got it in the mail. Their return address was Trump Tower.
Watch the reporters
seems to be a joke.
On This Week with George Stephanopoulos, they said that it was just in his mailbox. This woman it was in the mailbox. Then they went to see the accountant who's semi-retired in Florida at 80 years old. He goes, yeah, that's me. I did that.
Okay, so journalistic ethics, they should have presented it to Donald Trump or representatives of his, not somebody that worked for him 30 years ago, and said, is this yours and do you want to comply with it? He's going to be on the show later today, and you can ask him if they did that. I doubt that they did that, but they should have done it. Why? Because they had in their hands a document that is protected by the highest degree of protection we have for civilian documents, not government documents. And once you file it, it achieves the protection of a government document.
His attorney said that they obtained this illegally and that he did not authorize this to be released.
Okay, they probably, the person who put it in their hands probably broke the law. Let's call that person the thief. The thief, whoever that person is, can be criminally liable and civilly liable. But the Times is immune from civil liability. Why? Because Donald Trump has portrayed himself in this campaign as a brilliant businessman whose background is appropriate for the presidency. And part of that brilliance, in his view, is how he dealt with his taxes. So his taxes are what the law calls of material interest to the public. When the publisher, Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, gets its hands on something that's of material interest to the public, we can reveal it with impunity.
Hillary did the same thing. She took a loss, a $700,000 loss in 2015. The New York Times did as well.
That's how it works.
Look, some of the Times conclusions, in my view, are wacky and don't make sense. Just because he had this loss in 1995 doesn't mean he's not paying taxes in 2016. He can explain that to you when you talk to him.
They have control of the loss, but we don't know because we don't have his taxes.
Judge, today is the first Monday in October. That means the U.S. Supreme Court convenes with one empty seat.
Yes. Do you know what case they're hearing today, Mr. Kilmeade?
What?
It will affect whether or not the Washington Redskins can keep their name. Can the government prohibit the use of a name that is offensive to some people? That's how they're starting off. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I do know that the Chief Justice has put off the more controversial cases until after the first of the year, because the new president will presumably have her or his nominee on the court.
But isn't that controversial?
It's very controversial, and that's the one that they are dealing with now. It doesn't involve the Redskins. It involves a rock group, but the principle is the same.
Interesting stuff. All right, Judge, thank you very much for joining us live.
Let's hope they leave the Giants out of this.
Yes, absolutely.
Have a big game tonight.
Go Giants tonight.